you. Well, thank you very much, and good afternoon, everyone, and happy Martin Luther King Day here in Princeton. It's a real honor and pleasure to be here today, and thank you, Paige, very, very much for that kind introduction. And I want to thank the committee for asking me to be here today and share some few thoughts on what Martin Luther King means to me, and particularly on the theme of immigration. Many here would agree, and all of us know that Dr. King was a man who was an aspiring teacher, a leader, and a true visionary. His courage and sacrifice gave hope to many who fought for peace and justice. There are few Americans who stood up or sat down for the cause of human dignity the way Dr. King did. The civil rights movement would not have succeeded without passionate dedication by courageous individuals like Dr. King. For many, African Americans did not matter at the time. They had historically been relegated to ghettos and communities that were largely separate from the rest of America. There were some who would claim that African Americans were unnecessary. There was a belief by some that America would have been no better or worse off if they just disappeared. Today, one of America's most hotly debated issues involves the same arguments that we once heard about African Americans. It is not uncommon today to read and hear similar things about immigrants. Some people actually believe that America would be better off if immigrants were not here. It seems that all we hear these days is, should we build a wall? Should we deny immigrants government benefits? Should we eliminate birthright citizenship? Should we implement a guest worker program? Should we have a national ID? The questions go on and on and on. As we search for the answers to these and many more questions, I believe we can find inspiration from Dr. King's words and actions during the civil rights movement. In fact, the immigrant right marches held throughout the nation over the last few years have been directly inspired by Dr. King's call for nonviolent action. Collectively, millions of people marched peacefully in the name of immigration rights and were among the largest demonstrations our nation has ever seen. More importantly, they have helped make the problems caused by immigration policies more recognizable by the rest of America. Unfortunately, as it was in Dr. King's time, government has sometimes responded to that increased tension by escalating it rather than diffusing it. It happened in my own city of Los Angeles. Think back to the graphic images we saw this past spring at MacArthur Park in Los Angeles. After one of the immigrant rights marches there had ended, hundreds of families sat peacefully in the park, enjoying a meal and chatting with friends. Suddenly, and without provocation, they were attacked by Los Angeles police officers. The chief of police said officers fired 240 non-lethal rounds to clear the park. News images showed police hitting a television cameraman to the ground, shoving people, young and old, some who were walking away from the officers. In my mind, this brought back the stark black and white television images of the 60s that we've all seen. Images of African American protesters being hosed down while trapped in a corner, and German shepherds attacking defenseless citizens. In short, I believe that both the civil rights movement and the immigration rights movement embraces the desire Dr. King expressed 40 years ago in his final speech. He delivered it only hours before that fateful day in April in Memphis. It is a desire by both movements to reach the promised land. For immigrants, it is often referred to as the American dream. But when we look at America, can we honestly say that everyone is judged by the content of their character and not the color of their skin? No. Are there more obstacles in our way? Yes. But have we been going in the right direction since Dr. King spoke of the promised land 40 years ago? Absolutely. In the area of education, which is particular importance because it is the great equalizer in our society. African American and Latino children today represent an overwhelming number of dropouts from our high schools, and the academic achievement gap between these ethnic groups and others remains vast. A decent education remains lamentably out of reach for too many children of color, particularly those in urban areas. Dr. King recognized the importance of education as a vehicle for true reform. He said, "It is precisely because education is the road to equality and citizenship that it has been made more elusive for Negroes than many other rights. The walling off of Negroes from equal education is part of the historical design to submerge him in a second-class status. Therefore, as Negroes have struggled to be free, they have had to fight for the opportunity for a decent education." Today, it is often said that reforming education in America is the civil rights issue of our time. But let me ask, can immigrants and African Americans unite for their common goals? We cannot ignore an issue that many continue to raise in the immigration debate, that immigrants are advancing at the cost of African Americans. A recent Los Angeles Times opinion editorial pointed out that animosity between Latinos and blacks is the worst kept secret in race relations in America. That's our challenge today with immigration. How can we reform our national immigration policies so that everyone, immigrants and American citizens alike, benefit? Again, I believe we can learn directly from Dr. Martin Luther King. He overcame barriers of race and wealth and social standing by building bridges. Bridges between the rich and the poor. Bridges between those with opportunity and those without. Dr. King recognized the commonality amongst people and issues. He built bridges between blacks and Latinos. He reached out to Cesar Chavez, one of the leading Latino civil rights leaders of that time. While Chavez was fasting in 1968, Dr. King sent him a telegram where he wrote, "Our separate struggles are really one, a struggle for freedom, for dignity, and for humanity. The struggles of immigrants and African Americans are very similar indeed. I truly believe that they can and should be working together to build our communities up, not tearing each other down. As our nation continues a national debate on immigration, I say that we raise our voices and lift our sights. We need a debate that attacks the issue without attacking individuals." As was mentioned in my introduction, I'm an immigrant to this country. Like many other immigrants, I have benefited directly from the laws inspired by Dr. King, not only his words, but his actions. I moved from Mexico, or I should say my parents brought me from Mexico, in the early 1970s, and we settled in Boa Heights, an immigrant community in East Los Angeles. My father actually came to America as a migrant farm worker under the Bracero program, a federal program started in World War II to import temporary contract labor from Mexico. My father decided he wanted to stay, so when he had the opportunity, he did. He wanted the American dream. He brought his family and later became a machine operator. My family was born in Mexico, but my younger brother was born here in the United States. Were it not for a policy at that time that allowed for family reunification, something that is not allowed today, my life and that of my family would have been very, very different. Because I was allowed to come to the United States, I've had the opportunity to pursue an education at some incredible schools like Princeton University. I was able to grow up in a society that was profoundly shaped by Dr. King, one that is built on pillars of justice, equality, and opportunity. So the challenge, as I see it, is for individuals, including everyone in this room, to take action on a personal level. We must take action with a heightened awareness of the challenges and the opportunities to continue on the path of achieving that promised land. Let us take that awareness and use it to encourage reform and wipe out injustice. Let us make sure this land truly holds a promise that draws immigrants from around the world. Let us demand an educational system that will allow every child to reach the mountaintop. And let us work hard to unite all of us, no matter what our background may be. And let us pursue that journey that Dr. King began to pave. Doing that, ladies and gentlemen, students and young people, is the best way to ensure that Dr. King's dream lives on and that we will be here next year, again celebrating what we have done and what we will do in the future. Thank you very, very much.